recently stabbed 14 times, and he say it was a hit, okay? Because new evidence is about to come out. All right, a little conspiratorial, but he was definitely stabbed. Lane's supporters believe that the media doesn't care because Megan Thee Stallion is represented by Jay-Z's Rock Nation. Now, I could give a damn for his company. This just wasn't a case on my radar until now. Why? She is a representative from Florida. You see her here on a regular basis. She got new evidence, says it wasn't him. And she joins us now. Representative APL, it's good to have you.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be back on. And thanks for taking a look at this case.
Yeah, plenty.
Why did you look at it? I mean, this isn't your jurisdiction. I don't know you to have any connection to any of these people.
Yeah, so as you know, we are on oversight and accountability. And so this case was actually initially flagged for me by Amber Rose. The fact that they actually had evidence they presented to.
Hold on. She just said something. Y'all heard that?
Yeah, so as you know, we are on oversight and accountability. And so this case was actually initially flagged for me by Amber Rose.
That's what we need. Read that shit. She said she got this story from Amber Rose. Well, if you know anything about Amber Rose became full-blown, had the slut walk, full Democratic pride, blase, blase, blase. And then she, I guess, came to a realization, was like, fuck that. I'm going on the right. And she became a full-blown MAGA supporter Republican. I'm like, how would she find out? But it makes sense now because of Amber Rose.
If Amber Rose is just simply trying to help the black community, then giving this case to that lady and getting help is actually pretty cool. I don't think it has to necessarily be a stipulation or beef. It would be cool. It would be nice. But
why I took particular interest in it is because of the fact that they actually had evidence that they presented to me in my office that actually disproved the conviction. So as you stated earlier, that 0.01% of DNA, they actually found 4 people's DNA on that firearm, none of which was Tory's. Not to mention there was 0 fingerprints on the actual magazine. And also too, as you said, 0.01% chance. I mean, that evidence in itself should pretty much speak for itself. Also, there's been ring footage that's been obtained that actually disproves the whole dance, Megan. And so what we're seeing is really there was a case of he said, she said. The evidence wasn't actually respected and properly adhered to actually in the trial. And then they also were doing something that I would find pretty wild and egregious. They're actually submitting his lyrics for rap as evidence to the crime. So look, first and foremost, you have to have a free and fair society. That means we need to respect and uphold the justice system. So I actually reached out today to Gavin Newsom's office, and we are requesting an emergency meeting. We're also working with other Democrats, specifically to the California delegation. But I think that this is something that's pretty egregious, that the way that this was handled, the way that it was. I think that it was largely driven by headlines. And aside from the people involved and the parties involved, obviously I take domestic violence, I take this very seriously, Chris, but I also take very seriously the fact that I do believe, based on the evidence that I've seen, that Tory, it's a really bad message when you have someone of his stature and also to someone that is as influential as he is, it's being wrongfully incarcerated. And that's exactly why we wanted to use our megaphone for a good reason and help get him his pardon, which I think he'll get.
So Luna, who did it? I mean, she says, and her friends say, that he did it, and who else would have done it, and what proof do you have to support that? I get it. Maybe they didn't make the case the right way with the weapon, but who did it?
You know, Chris, that's not for me to weigh in, and that's definitely for the judge and the jury. But what I will tell you is, based on the evidence that we have, the evidence that we have says that he wasn't the guy. And so I do think that Gavin Newsom,
she knows, Kelsey. She knows.
I was about to say,
she's not saying it.
Has some great attorneys that will look at this, but I'd also like to point out that the prosecutor specifically on this case that initially brought the charges is a very interesting prosecutor. Look into who ran him. And at the end of the day, you know, I think Hollywood, as you know, Chris, and politics does overlap, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened there. So look at the evidence for yourself. We've posted it for the entire world to see.
There's no way for a woman of her stature to take a case like this and not know who the shooter is.
That's facts.
Because now, what she tells the public is something different,
well,
right? Because you can't
media trained.
Exactly. I hope y'all got somebody there. The biggest, I just found something that was crazy. The Amber Rose issue. The reason why the Tory case is going crazy like this with the media and all this new information and this new evidence and all of these things, I can now say that it came from. Now, granted, he got stabbed 14 times.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And that went crazy. So later, Amber Rose, yo, I need you to blase to her homegirl. She got beef with Megan.
Damn. So when he get out, do you think he gonna tell the truth?
To tell the truth, I mean, it doesn't matter. They're gonna pull out the truth now. They got to.
Yeah. Crazy, by the way.
And you have senators and congressmen who are actually leaving the country to go to another country to have a meeting with that dude to bring him back so he can get due process.
That's fucking crazy.
When we have a dude,
why are we wasting our time on that?
When we have a dude whose fingerprints were not even on the gun, you might as well say it wasn't even on the guns, because the percentage that they got, that could be a billion black men, damn near. So it wasn't on the gun, pretty much. And then he don't get a due process. That case went fast. Kelsey got an affidavit. What do you need an affidavit for?
Why she need that?
Because she shot the gun.
Yeah.
The fucking security already came out and said it. He felt guilty. You get, I mean, people feel hurt about that. He in prison, gets stabbed 14 times.
But you guys have to pay attention. Like, I knew this was gonna happen. This is just the beginning, y'all. I know y'all want me to talk, but this is just the beginning. So, like, when it's my turn, just know I'm gonna break everything the fuck down, okay? And we're gonna see who really look bad in the end.
Recently, we've been made aware that a member of the media, Mr. Gianno Caldwell, was working on an op-ed for the New York Post regarding Mr. Peterson's innocence. During his work on that op-ed, he became aware of some information in Unite the People's possession regarding a statement that was given to Unite the People by someone with information relevant to that case. The New York Post recently reached out to the prior district attorney, George Gascon, Megan Pete and her representatives, and Kelsey Harris and her representatives. The only party that responded last week was Megan Pete's representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell.
And I send blessings to the Tory Lanez family, and and also, for good sake, Megan, right? But now we see that this is where we at.